Agribusinesses are constantly looking for opportunities to solve problems. They might want to increase yields, lower costs, or improve efficiency. But my next guest tells us how one such business, Hormel Foods Corporation of Austin, Minnesota, is trying to solve the problem of global hunger. And they're doing it through innovations in food science as well as strategic partnerships in regions of need. Join me as I visit with Joe Swedberg of Hormel to see how they're putting agricultural innovation to good use. Well, you brought with us a product that has an interesting name and an interesting story. What have you got?
Well, this is called Spammy. It's a fortified turkey spread that we've developed. The background with this is our CEO, Jeff Ettinger, has a passion for hunger relief and education. And after seeing a segment on a program and reading some articles on a product called Plumpy Nut that was used and is used in Africa and other nations for severely malnourished children. It's a fortified turkey paste. He thought, why can't we as a company, with our ingenuity being around 121 years and with products like Spam, chili, and so on, with our technologies, produce a protein that could be easily portable and distributed without refrigeration that could serve as a vital nutrient in those parts of the world where nutrition and malnourishment is prevalent. So what Jeff turned the R&D people loose to do was produce a product that was fortified with the essential nutrients and minerals that were important in particularly children's diets for early development, and come up with a product. Thus, they used turkey base. Since we own Jennie-O Turkey Store based out of Wilmer, Minnesota, we're the largest turkey processor in the world, we had an abundant source of turkey meat. And this is produced out of lean, fine, white and dark turkey meat. And then it's mixed and put together with essential nutrients, and it's the texture of a hummus type product. And it is, with the essential nutrients and minerals in it, it can be easily incorporated into any diet, and it becomes actually an ingredient into the diet. Thus, you don't have to change people's cultures or their dietary normal intake. It becomes an additive to that intake.
Well, you mentioned using a system of getting it into the communities of education.
Mm-hmm.
What challenges have you had coming into a community that has probably no knowledge of these products, mm-hmm. and educating them to use them and the advantages of using them?
Well, when we developed the product, we ended up having, where are we going to test this product? We ended up choosing Guatemala for a couple reasons. The high rate of illiteracy in Guatemala, 69% of the women are illiterate. They have one of the highest states of stunting in the Western Hemisphere for children. Thus, there was a need. And so it was much more geographically feasible for us to pick Guatemala. The first thing we had to do then after picking Guatemala was find in-country partners, because we had no connections within Guatemala. We may have, through our international business, distributed some product into Guatemala, but we didn't have in-country partners. We ended up choosing two partners, and they were absolutely critical to the whole project. One was Food for the Poor out of Miami. They are the distribution arm for this. And they distribute primarily into the Central Americas, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras. And the other partner was an in-country partner called Caritas. It's the Catholic Relief Organization. They operate the only pediatrics hospital in Guatemala. Guatemala is about 14 million people. About 8 million of them reside in Guatemala City. So you can see a very dense population. So those were the two key partners we found in country. We've been in country now about 4 years. We started out very slowly. First and foremost, we wanted to do no harm, and what I mean by that is we wanted to make sure this didn't have an adverse effect introducing a rich protein fortified into children's diets. We were pleased to see that it didn't have any adverse effects to the children, and they accepted it very well, because we needed to see how it worked into their diets. Well, their diets consist primarily of rice, tortillas, beans, oils, etc. Children down there get about 1,200 calories a day on the average, which is about half of what you get here. But a lot of those aren't nutrient rich in calories or nutrition. And thus, the product then is mixed in with the beans. It's mixed in with the rice. It's spread on top of tortillas. If they have, sometimes the children are fortunate enough to have some other protein in their diet. They'll have hamburgers or patties. They can put a spread on top of it so it easily incorporates into their diets.
How's the acceptance rate been?
It's been exceptional. In fact, I was down there last year. We went into some of the homes in both Guatemala City and some of the remote locations, and talking to the mothers, they were very pleased with the product. And I asked, do you get tired of the product? And they kind of looked at me confounded, saying, why would I? Because it easily mixes in the diets. It actually takes on the flavor of the diets. This is actually a curry flavored product, and we actually tested it with our employees internally before we put the product out in market. And curry flavors seem to be the flavor of choice. And so it does mix in easily with the foods, and it takes on primarily the flavor of the foods that they're preparing within the homes and in the schools.
Well, your team has done a great job of developing a product, and they're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing you had to learn a lot about the culture and some of the things that happen inside of Guatemala.
Caritas goes into about 13,000 households in Guatemala. Right now, we're in a little over 8,300 of those households, so we're serving about 30,000 children monthly with Spammy. So what we do is we go in and we'll educate the mothers on how to use the product. But first and foremost, we tell them it's for your children to help them learn and to help them grow. We have to keep it very simple. And the other thing is we will demonstrate recipes on how to use this and typical recipes they would use in their home. And then we have a sampling time. But when we sample the product, we tell the children that they come up first, because this is for your children. This is something you can do for your children. And the families and fathers and mothers take great pride in this, that this is something they can do that's over and above what they can normally do, because many of the households down there live on less than $2 a day. Now the other thing is we give them in the areas, they will get 1 case of Spammy per month. So when they come to these meetings, they'll get a case of Spammy along with rice, beans, and oils. When they come back for the next month, they have to bring back all 24 cans of the product, empty, of course. The concern was possibly selling it or black market. And this was the idea of Caritas, our in-country partners. They said, they insisted that we do it this way just to make sure there is no distribution problems with the product. Plus, when these 24 cans, these are aluminum cans, it's about 2 servings per can, come back, they will take them and recycle them. They do recycling down there. So Caritas does get a little extra money for this. So that's kind of how we've set up our distribution center. And you can see there's a lot of complexities to it, but fortunately we've had some really good partners there.
Sounds like you used a team approach to good advantage.
Yes, it has been. We couldn't have picked better team partners than Food for the Poor or Caritas. They have just been stellar. Everything they said they would do, they've done, and over and above with the project. So, you know, we've been down there 4 years now, and we see anecdotally, it's interesting, when you go into the schools. When we first went there, we did measurements in the schools for height, weight, skin fold, etc., and the orphanages. It was eerie when we went into one of the orphanages the first time. You'd go in and you'd have children 3 to 10, 12 years old, and they'd come into the gym where we're doing the measurements, the team was, and they would be very lethargic, but they'd sit there very quietly. You could almost hear a pin drop, and that was eerie when you think of 3 to 4-year-olds, 12-year-olds here, if you tried to do the same thing. 6 months later, when we went back to do the remeasurements, we were coming in, and the kids were running around, yelling, playing, having fun. In fact, many of the nuns indicated that, you know, they've taken better notes, their test scores are improving, but also they're getting in trouble more. Which I guess is a side effect, but that's a good side effect. They're acting like normal children. So we've seen that. The mothers that we've introduced this that are pregnant or lactating have found that they're able to better take care of their children now. They have more energy, more strength. And so we see this anecdotally, but now we're at a point where we're looking to be able to quantify it.
Fabulous story, Joe. And I remember you showing me brain scans
Mm-hmm.
and the extreme difference.
Yeah.
And also the nervous system. And now you're talking about mobility and activity and cognitive, and you've got research to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also thinking you're making a cultural difference as that education process with the parents as they learn what they can do
Mm-hmm.
and then teaching their children, are you seeing that the next generation is going to be something different than where you came from?
Well, I think that's our hope, to make a long-term influence and make a difference long-term. Our goal is we've committed to Guatemala. And yes, it's going to take a while. It takes time, but from what we're seeing, and we've met with the USDA Secretary Vilsack, USAID Raj Shah, who is the administrator, is aware of the project. They're excited about it, and people with the World Food Program out of the United Nations. They know this project is taking place, and they are very interested in it for the fact that it takes it to the next level. It's taking the science and technology for the right reasons and moving it forward and being able to bring something that can add to that cultural, to take them out of the poverty levels, to take them into more innovation. You just see as the kids have more energy and want to learn more, what that's going to do for coming generations. So long term, our goal is we would like to get on the USDA, USAID food basket purchase for this. We're donating all the product right now. We're also setting us up as a nonprofit, though. If we do start selling this, because we can't feed the world on our own, but it's a fairly inexpensive product, and if we could get it on their food baskets for purchase, this would be a nonprofit portion for Hormel Foods. All we want to do is be able to sustain this, to take this forward, and be able to not only distribute it with the value it has in delivery in Guatemala, but to other Central American countries and around the world.
Very impressive. Best wishes on the project.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.